Lucky Boys Podcast.
A guy could pull some weird controlling. I've seen guys
absolutely.
do some toxic ass shit,
Guys
like
are- Totally agree.
to cut off anyone and everyone that's associated with her, so that they could get full control of her. And on top of that, and here's a big way guys do it: they attack the girl's self-esteem. Where they're constantly negging her, and girls that are listening,
destroying their confidence, that they're so afraid like no one else
they're
will love
beautiful
me.
girls. Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
Gorgeous
before,
girls from the inside. Even before they met her, I had this one girl. She was like one of my best friends growing up, man. Me and her, we used to like rollerblade together, do all this stuff, and we spent a lot of late nights talking together. And yes, guys and girls can be close friends, right? And we were close friends. We never dated, nothing like that. We were just there for each other. And we dated other people, but we would talk to each other about our relationships. But this one guy that she had, who was my friend, I ended up dating her. Man, at the beginning, again, it was very nice. He was funny, charming, charismatic. Check, 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 right? And once the honeymoon phase wore out, she saw the real him. He was violent. He was abusive. He hit women, and I didn't know that about him, but he put his hands on her.
And that was his MO. He did it before her.
I heard, from another girl, because once we found out we didn't like that, we confronted him about it, and his ex came out and was like, he hit me too, you know, on some crazy shit. So, and I didn't know this. One time we were hanging out, and we're all with our group of friends, and she just. Me and her was alone when everybody went to go get drinks, and she just started crying. We were alone in the room, and she just started crying. I was like, "Yo, you okay?" And she just wouldn't say nothing, and she just kept crying, and that's when I knew, man. That's when I knew something was wrong, and I started digging. And they told me like so. What he did was, and I'm telling you, before that, she was a beautiful soul, man. She was an absolute beautiful soul. She was funny, hilarious, and like everybody wanted to hang out with her. Everybody wanted to talk to her. She was such a good listener, such a good talker, all of that. And after she dated this dude, he just stole all the beauty she had, man. He just polluted that shit. He fucked up. He had something so beautiful. He had such a beautiful woman. And he went in there, and I say woman because she was a woman, man. She was a boss. She handled her business. She was extremely responsible, loyal, smart, all of that. She's a woman. She's no girl game. She doesn't do those things. And he actually got her, and he went in and polluted, man. He did not take care of what he had. He completely destroyed it. He ruined it. He absolutely ruined it. So he put his hands on her because it was a form of control, dominance, right? He destroyed her self-confidence, completely negged her nonstop.
Right.
Kept telling her she looked like ugly.
Right.
There was, she wasn't like hot enough. Her body wasn't good enough. Just made her very self-conscious. To the point where when a year after I saw her cry that day, she was still dating him, and I just happened to randomly bump into her. And again, keep in mind, she wasn't allowed to hang out with her friends anymore.
Yeah, she was cut off, basically.
So she was cut off from us. She wouldn't respond to our texts, nothing.
Yeah.
Right? She just completely went MIA. And one day we saw her again. And I got to tell you, she looked like she aged tremendous. She had bags. And those bags aren't from not sleeping. Those bags are from crying. Like, you just knew. She was crying herself to sleep. And I don't know why she stuck with him. I don't know why she couldn't leave him. But when we talked, when I saw her, like, how you doing? Her voice didn't even sound the same. Her energy was gone. The lightness, the beauty that I saw,
it's almost like
in a friend.
It was almost like a whole different person that you were speaking to.
It was a shell of herself,
right.
And that is a stretch, and that hurt me. That hurt me, in knowing that I couldn't save her from that. You know, I really wanted to do something, but I couldn't because she just wasn't listening. Kind of like our roommate. You know, the other way, you wanted to save him. You had me jump in, and that's what I knew because that happened before. It happened to our roommate. And that's why I kind of knew that there was, when they're ready, then, you know, they'll come out of it.
Sometimes people are never ready. That's the thing. Like it might escalate to something where, you know, where a life is threatened, you know, and I don't want to get to that point. That's why if you have a chance to intervene, then, and you know, you're good friends, you have to make that choice, and you have to try. I that's how I feel.
Right.
But
But
if they don't listen, yeah, I mean, there's nothing else you can do. But because you're there, I mean, they know that, you know, they have a way out if they choose to do so. That's how I feel. When
You're
I look
right.
at it.
You're absolutely right. But we have to also be careful with how we approach them because
yeah.
it can push them away.
Of
Because
course,
that's
yeah.
what happened with her. All her friends, her female friends, and keep in mind she was very popular, you know, very popular girl, and all her friends that had the intervention with her, it made her push all of them away further for whatever reason. I wasn't there for that one. It was all like an all female kind of thing,
Right.
and they told me about it, and they said she was just blank.
Right.
Every girl took their turn to talk to her, and they were supposedly they were childhood friends that grew up together, but she just couldn't be receptive to anything they were saying. It was just kind of like bouncing off of her. You know, no one was reaching her, and
Maybe not at that moment.
So quick
but-
question, like did she love him?
yeah, I think that was her first love.
There you go.
That was her
So
first.
that's where
that's
where,
amplified too when it's your first love. When you think it's your first
yeah.
love. And
When you're in love, when you're actually breaking up, you go through this whole withdrawal. So instead of going, you know, like, okay, hey Will, thanks for appreciate the advice. You know what? Maybe he isn't good for me, etc. And you go back to the point where, okay, you know what? This is it. I'm gonna let him go. And then suddenly, because of the the withdrawal forces you start thinking like, oh my God, what am I gonna do without him? Or who am I? You know, who's gonna be the next person in my life? Or like, you're so into of being with that person for so long.
You're so comfortable in that
that
situation.
he became in your circle, right? So now you're now that whole trauma like of leaving that person, it literally love is like a drug. So now you're like, oh my God. So a month passes away from that person, like being away from that person. Your brain keeps pushing you like to go back.
You're so used to going to bed with this person, sharing a bed,
Yes.
and the moment that stops, you feel like a piece of you've been ripped out.
Emptiness.
You can't even. I remember when, man, I can't even believe I'm saying this. But when I felt that piece of me ripped out, and I was going to bed by myself, and that bed never felt more big, and I'm 6'3". That bed never felt more big, and I never felt so small. And I couldn't even sleep. I literally just stayed up staring at my ceiling, like time just stood still for me. You know, while the color of the sky was changing, sun setting, sun rising, I just stared blankly into the ceiling. Like, I was just gone. That feeling was just terrible. And I never want to feel like that again. It's just such a paralyzing, lonely, depressing ass feeling, man. It's such a low state of mind of being. And I can't believe that someone was able to do that to me. You know, it's just like, oh man, I'll never put myself in a position like that again. You know, and that was pretty unhealthy. Looking at it, it's like double unhealthy. Number one, getting into a depressive state of mind, and then number two, getting in a place where I'm going, I'm never gonna trust anyone ever again. I'm never gonna fall in love, and I'm gonna get revenge on all girls and this and that, and you know, it's just terrible mindset to be, and you're really, I'm setting myself up for failure at that point, and any other relationship after that, you know, unfortunately, I'm going to start passing off negative energy to girls, and you know,
and then you're attracting like that same type of
Attracting
energy.
the
Yep.
same
So you
shit.
you end up probably dating the same type of person. That's so crazy. Like to me, that's how
It's a
so
psychological
weird.
thing.
Yeah, psychological. It's weird how human nature like plays a role into like how you interact with like people in your environment.
Is like a girl going from one abusive relationship to another abusive relationship to another one, you know, or the opposite. So I mean,
opposite, yeah.
it literally, you know, when you're in that trance, right? You know, you're going through it. You know, the saying of time heals all wounds is true, and you need time. But the thing is,
very
you got to
true.
get through the withdrawal part. You got to get through, whether it's 3 months, 6 months. Like some people, I don't know how much involved they were in. It might take a year or 2 years, right? And here's another thing. I don't think a lot of people put that thought for themselves is, you don't necessarily have to forget. It's like, if you forget, and all about forgiving and moving on in your life, yeah, okay, you could forgive. But when you move, don't never forget what happened to you, right? Never forget, the best thing you do is wish them a good, happy life, right? And then you go kind of move on. Because if you keep putting that and keeping that on, okay, that person did wrong to me, and you know what, how can I ever trust the next person, etc., you're still keeping that energy that you have from him or her, and now you're kind of transferring to the next person.
And that's not fair for that person.
Absolutely.
On the rebound.
And that's why you're saying it's important not to forget. You can forgive, but not forget, because if you do forget about the past, you're repeating your
destined to
past.
repeat.
Yeah, destined to repeat your past.
Yeah.